What's going on, everyone? So whenever I talk about preseason, I always stress that I don't care what the end result is. I don't care about the late third, fourth quarter where it's all the G League guys or it's all the guys that aren't on the roster that aren't going to actually play. I care about the core guys, right? Even guys like Dalton Connect and Max Christie, who will be part of the core group, will be part of the rotation. Them getting 16 shot attempts or 15 shot attempts, right? Like, that's just not going to happen during the regular season. Dalton Connect isn't going to average 15 attempts per game unless he's just shooting the lights out, right? If he's like 14 to 15, then sure, yeah, it probably keeps going. But more likely than not, he's going to be around 8 to 10 attempts at most. And same thing with Max Christie. Two guys that are going to be playing very different role than what you see in preseason. They're not going to be on the court with Jalen Hood-Schifino and Bronny James and guys like that. They're going to be on the court with D'Angelo Russells and Austin Reeves and LeBron James, right? And their roles are going to be catch-and-shoot guys, perimeter defenders, things like that. The roles are going to be very different. Even some of the starters, right? Like Reeves, D'Lo, things like that. You're going to be seeing very different things. Obviously, they're working on things. Obviously, they are trying to kind of get organized and kind of work on different sessions or different actions. Heard JJ Redick talk about how these next two games really wants it to be specific for the team, kind of start preparing for that first matchup. And moving forward, game plan executions, defensive schemes, offense schemes, so on and so forth, based on the matchup, rather than just generalized, like, hey, get out there, let's work on just getting attempts up, things like that. However, there are some concerns that we got to see, right? Like, again, it's about the pros and cons. It's about building and improving game in and game out. And it's not even so much just them shooting 36% from the floor and 28% from three. You look at the Warriors, they weren't much better, right? But they did do things that were better, such as move the ball better, get more assists, right? Even JJ Redick in his post-game touched on and talked about how the Lakers, particularly in the third quarter, really kind of got in their own heads of like, oh, I got to get going, right? I got to start hitting shots. And he even said, I can relate to that. I was a player, I was in that point, right, where nothing's falling for me. And I just kind of want to get shots up to try to, turn things around rather than trusting the offense, rather than trusting the game plan and the schemes. Said it's something that we'll look at, review the tape, and then we'll kind of touch on it and work it out, which is great, right? That's what this is about. You'd rather have these kinds of games. You'd rather have these little hiccups and bumps. Now, get them out the way so that way when you get to the regular season, it's go time, right? That you trust the offense. And, even like LeBron James, only took 9 attempts. He's just out there most of the game. It was just kind of seemed like he was coasting. Right? It kind of seemed like he was just kind of getting cardio at times. It's nothing against him. Like, he's fine. I'm not worried about LeBron James. Anthony Davis was spectacular. Anthony Davis, if it wasn't for him, that game would have been a blowout, by halftime. Right? Anthony Davis kept us in the game. LeBron James, again, not really worried about. It's everyone else. It's Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura. Right? It's these guys that we are so reliant on. Talk about it all the time. LeBron James and Anthony Davis, you know what you're going to get for them. They're going to throw you on their back, and they're going to take you as far as they can take you. But there's a difference, right? They may be able to take you to the promised land, right? You may be able to get all the way home if you're not dead weight, right? If you're able to make the journey as easy as possible, right? It's why I express my concerns about Austin Reeves and his lack of shooting, right? I like that he's been much more aggressive in preseason, that he's not just settling, that he's being attacked, that he's attacking closeouts, that he's being aggressive, getting in the teeth of the defense. I like those things. Same thing with Rui. Rui's not settling, getting in the teeth of the defense. D'Angelo Russell, we saw take guys off the dribble, just weren't hitting shots. I like the aggression, right? However, I really worry about our perimeter defense still. Talked about that last season, even when the Lakers were 9-0 with the starting unit. I was like, yeah, but what happens when the offense gets stagnant? Can we stop anybody? Right? And the Warriors were getting great looks. They just weren't hitting a lot of those shots, right? Go back and watch the tape. Like, they were getting at times wide open looks and just weren't converting, right? Guys weren't even in the vicinity to really close out or challenge. And Lakers had moments where they really generated good looks and they weren't hitting either. Lakers had moments where you could see they were trusting their offense and were able to at least generate the looks that you want to see. But you also saw a lot of lack of ball movement, a lot of isolation, a lot of stagnant just offense. JJ Redick, again, even talked about it and highlighted and said, yeah, he saw the same thing. Right. He did say that he did have a sequence where he called for an isolation. I think it was for LeBron because he hadn't touched the ball a couple times down the court. So he just wanted to kind of get him involved, kind of get him in actions. Right. Which is fine. I've talked about it. Even LeBron isolation. Sometimes it's your best play. You know, like games on the line, for example, games on the line, you're down 1, 7 seconds left. Times it's best, just give LeBron the ball and let him go make a play, right? There's times where you want LeBron, or if the offense is cooking and stuff like that, sometimes you just want to get LeBron involved. You just want to get LeBron going, right? Maybe he's having a little sluggish. It's like, hey, let's drop a play with getting him downhill so that way he can kind of generate some offense. Right? There are moments where you want that. That's fine. But the bench scoring, still have a concern. Made a whole video diving into that, and then as well as who I think could be the sixth man. I do think that Jared Vanderbilt will help a lot. I think that Christian Wood will help a lot. I know people don't look at Jared Vanderbilt as like an offensive threat. He's not in the traditional sense of like, shooting threes and whatnot, but him as a roll man, him as a cutter, right? Him moving without the basketball and his ability and his speed and athleticism and his ability to kind of fit in spaces, right? Like you're going to be able to generate that. On top of that, the offensive rebounding, right? The defensive rebounding lead to more possessions on the offensive side, him creating live ball turnovers, him creating turnovers, period, right? Like all of these things generate more offense. And then Christian Wood, his ability to, if he can get back to, as they've talked about, the Houston, Dallas Maverick days, then that's great, right? Like now you're talking another, say, 12 to 15 point a game guy at worst. Like that would be fantastic, right? And then that takes pressure off of guys like Max Christie, Dalton Connect. I'm not like super overly concerned with the bench just because, again, it's not going to be, Gabe Vincent, Max Christie, Dalton Connect, Christian Wood, and Jackson Hayes all on the court at the same time, right? It's going to be something like, D'Lo with Max and Connect with Anthony Davis and Rui at the 5 or something like, you know what I mean? Like you're going to have a mixture of bench and starters, guys are coming in, guys are going out, like you're going to have a better balance. So I'm not so worried about that. And again, guys' roles are going to be very different. You're not going to be looking for Max Christie and Dalton Connect to be creating possession after possession after possession. It's going to be more of like your other guys are creating. They're just benefiting off of getting open and then catching the ball to shoot. So I'm not super worried about that. More than anything, I'm worried about, getting away from the game plan, right? Obviously, these are all things that can be corrected. These are all things that can be adapted and changed. I'm not saying like, oh, it's a disaster. There's going to be some people that are going to overreact. They go, oh, Lakers are done. That's it. They're cooked. Season's over. They're trying. No, it's nothing like that. It's just, again, there's, when things are clicking, things are looking good, right? We've had a couple games with the starters, stuff like that. Things look great. They're dominating, right? Like even that Phoenix game, Lakers just looked better than Phoenix. They were getting whatever they wanted whenever they wanted. They were up like 12 or whatever, right? Like obviously there's little nuances that you could pick out and kind of nitpick and go like, oh, they're doing good, they're doing. But what does the bad game look like, right? And how can you prevent having as few of these as possible? These games happen where guys just can't hit shots, offense isn't working right, defense isn't stopping guys, right? Like, but it's good to have these type of games that you can highlight and point to and go, oh, look, this is potential worst case scenario. This is what it looks like when things aren't really going right, right? How can we correct that to where it's not as bad, and still looks like a form of what we want to achieve, a form of what we're looking for, right? A form of how we want to properly execute, right? Again, offense isn't working, but you stick to the game plan. A great example is the team we just played, right? The Golden State Warriors. Back in their heyday, back in their, even as recent as 2022, when they were doing that, I thought the Warriors were going to beat Boston in that finals because I figured Boston would collapse. And Boston loved at that time to get away from what works, right? When things start going bad, they just start shot check. They just get it complete. Like instead of sticking to the script, staying on course that got you the leads, that got you in the position you're in, they would default to like, oh, heavy ISO ball and just not working and moving the ball and playing the right way. But the Warriors were this well-oiled machine. No matter what, right? They missed their last 10 shots. They're still playing the same way, still playing the same way, still playing the same way, still playing the same way. And then finally they break through, and then you look up and Warriors are up 15 and you're like, how did that happen, right? Because they stick to the script. They stick to the game plan, right? No matter how good it is, no matter how bad it is, you never change the script, right? It's the same story every time. Spurs back in their day, right? Well-oiled machine. What'd you always hear? It's so boring. They're a boring team. It's not flashy. It's not this. Because they stuck to the script no matter what. And they always got guys that stuck to the script, right? Guys that come in, no matter who it was, they stayed with it, right? And that's what the Lakers need to get to. Being that team that, even if things are going wrong, you still stick to the script. You still play the same way because you trust that eventually it's going to start getting back into gear and the car will start, like that's what you're hoping for, right? Like you just stick with it. Okay, boom. Now it flips over and the car is good, right? Like that's what you need to get to. You need to get to that path. So these games are really good for the Lakers because it gives the coaching staff the opportunity to really evaluate, look at things. Because again, there's always things you can find even when things are going great, but when things are going at their worst, now you have all these things you can really point to, and it's not like, oh, but we won by 20, right? It's no, like this is a game that you should have won. You did these things right. You did these things wrong. We need to continue to work. We need to continue to improve. We need to continue to be better and be the best version of ourselves as possible and prevent these type of games from happening. Again, bad games happen. Going to be games, but instead of shooting 28% from three, can you shoot 31% from three? That could be the difference between you winning and losing a game, right? Instead of you shooting 36% from the floor, can you shoot 42% from the floor, right? Like that's the difference between you winning or losing a game. Right? Can you instead of getting the 20 assists, can we get 30 assists? Difference between you winning and losing the game, right? Like all of these little things are the difference between you winning and losing games. So these are the moments that are really good for Lakers. But I do have my concerns, right? There are still some apparent, the defense, I don't know if they're going to be able to fix that. They just don't have the athletes. Like Rui isn't the athlete we need. That's why I think at some point you're going to have to inject Jared Vanderbilt into the starting unit. It's obviously going to take some time. Right, Jared Vanderbilt's going to come back whenever he comes back. Let's say he misses 10 games. Probably going to take him another 10, 20 games maybe because he's going from 0 to 100, right? Like, it's going to take him a while to kind of get back into rhythm, get back into a flow of things, get back into gear a little bit here. And so if you get into, 30 games in the season and then now he's back to being Jared Vanderbilt, now you're cooking, now you're talking. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion and I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think yes, these type of games, these type of moments are really good for the team, for the camaraderie, for just building and learning from the bads, right? To better improve going forward. Do you think Lakers sky is falling, Chicken Little, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are. I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.